Hi, Jim Laird here for J&M Strength and Conditioning and where Performance and Health collide, my blog. I got some really good questions from the interwebs from some of my latest posts, so we're going to go through those briefly. Well, probably not briefly, but the first question is from Two Hearts, and she posted on my blog from the original Why Most People Fail, and she gave me a really nice compliment on working with Eric and how we're able to work with him. Work around his lifestyle and his travel schedule and all that sort of jive. To make a long story short, if you want to go back and look at the original question, but she basically is in a rut. She had a major career change about 4 years ago, had to move home, is basically in financial dire straits, has gained some weight, can't afford to eat well, maybe only 10 days a month, and she's just really stuck. She doesn't have a lot of moral support, a lot of emotional support, and she's just kind of asking for help. So I can only really give you my advice on what I would do. I've been in some pretty tough situations over the years, but every time I've been in a tough situation, it's always allowed me to go to the next level. So look at adversity as a way for you to get to be a better person and to kind of jump up to the next level. Most people don't know this, but when I started J&M Strength and Conditioning, I actually sold my house and moved into the gym and lived out of the gym for a year so I could put more money into the gym and get things rolling. So, and before that, about 3 or 4 years ago, I had a massive ulcerative colitis flare-up, had several car accidents, had a huge job transition, drove halfway across the country and back in 2 days, just kind of, lost it. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So take any time there's adversity in your life, take that as a means to get better. Basically figure out who you are. The number one thing you need to do is you need to find a passion. It can be anything. It could be helping people. It could be, you said you're a former nutrition counselor, so it could be getting back into that. But find what it is that makes you get excited and help others. And there's a really good website called a podcast called another48days.com. A guy named Dan Miller, you might want to check him out. He's about teaching people how to basically take their passion and turn it into revenue, and he's excellent. So he would be a good place for you to start with that. But anytime I've ever had any kind of been in a rut, I've always just basically went out of my way to help other people, and that always comes back to repay you, and it just makes you feel better. 2, to address your budget issue, my good buddy Rob Wolf has a Paleo and a budget guide. If you just Google that, it'll pull it up. But from a guy that was a starving college student in a GA at Arizona, working a ton of hours a week, who didn't have a lot of money, I've made my fair share of being on a severely limited budget and eating. Basically, you want to stick to meat and vegetables, and there's some really affordable things out there, like cans of tuna. You can get them for about 55 cents. You can get a dozen eggs for 99 cents or $1. Cans of sardines are awesome. They provide a lot of nutrition. You might not like these very much, like tuna. I used to make mix mayonnaise or mustard with it to make it better. Frozen vegetables, you can get them for really cheap. That'll cut your costs down a lot. So you can add salsa to anything. That makes things better. So do the best you can, buy those big frozen bags of chicken. You can get them on sale. Don't be so concerned with organic and all that sort of thing. It's much better to eat conventional meats than it is to eat bagels and cereal and all that sort of thing. So get yourself onto more of a paleo template. Google Rob Wolf Quick Start Guide. Get yourself some vitamin D. You can get 3 months supply of vitamin D. You get Carlson drops for of course I'm not telling you what to do, this is only what I do. You can get vitamin D for 3 months supply for $15. That's going to make you feel a lot better. I know you said you don't really like going outside because of the situation that you're in, but try and go somewhere and get outside a couple times a week. I find the more I walk outside, the better I feel. So that's basically it in a nutshell, is find a passion, start helping other people. I would find some sort of job to increase your revenue, like bussing tables, working wherever, I did all sorts of jobs when I was in college. Everything from janitor to bar backing in a bar to I mean, you name it, I've done it. I've collected pop cans to put gasoline in my motorcycle when I was in Arizona when I had no money. So, you know, you just got to do what you got to do within reason. So that's what I would get yourself going in the right direction. I hope that answers your question. And thank you for your question too, by the way. Jordan Foley on Facebook basically asked me, how do I incorporate paleo diet with carb backloading? Okay. It's pretty simple, really. You just eat strict paleo during the day, and then you load your carbs after your training, and you try to pick foods that are more paleo, you know, like sweet potatoes, raisins, things like that. The big thing for me is gluten. Like, I have to stay away from gluten. So gluten and dairy, like I can have a couple dairy exposures a couple times a week, but anything beyond that, I start breaking out in my skin. I get all sorts of congestion. So I kind of limit the dairy, and but other than that, that's really it. I mean, I basically like sweet potatoes. They have some gluten-free carrot cake cupcakes at the Good Foods Co-op here in Lexington where I shop, which are great. I might have a couple of those. I'll have like 4 or 5, 6 sweet potatoes, depending on how hard my training is. The harder I train, the more carbs I eat. I don't really count, I just eat. And I'm basically lighter than I've ever been. I'm about 240 right now. I used to be about, when I competed in geared lifting, I was about 265, 270, and that would cut down to 242. I'm about 238 to 243 right now. And I haven't been training that hard. Well, I've been training fairly hard, but I haven't been training that much. But I benched 500 with the slingshot last week. I did a safety bar, full safety bar squat with 600, and I pulled just over 600, which is like 90% for me of my old max back in the day. So I was pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with all those, considering that I'm training like maybe 3 days a week and doing some accessory stuff. But I usually backload, usually 3 to 4 days a week. And the harder I train, the more carbs I eat. And if I don't train as hard, I don't eat as many carbs. I look at the way my body looks the next day. If I wake up really lean and I look decent, I'm like, wow, that worked well. If I wake up bloated and I feel like garbage, then I kind of reevaluate where I'm at. And I use the HRV too. The HRV, I do well with like potato chips. They've got these potato chips at the co-op that are cooked in avocado oil. Instead of like some of the weird oils that they use with that. I use those. I use sweet potatoes. I use dark chocolate covered raisins. I use gluten-free treats. A little bit of that, probably about 15 to 20% of that is for that. But you kind of have to experiment for yourself. I mean, here's an example. We have a lady who came here to us at J&M, and she basically had been working out like a fiend for like 5 or 6 years. Had gained a bunch of weight. She was doing 2 cardio sessions a day, like 4 or 5 like crazy bicycle classes a week, working with a trainer 4 days a week, eating egg whites, basically egg whites, granola, and like Greek yogurt. That was her diet for like the last 5 years. And she was just cooked. And so we put her on a basic paleo template. We cut her exercise way back, got her walking more, and she just did great. And after like 2 months, we were like, oh, well, maybe we need to introduce some carbs other than vegetables. So maybe we got her doing more of a carb night type approach. And basically, she just didn't do well with that. She had 1 sweet potato to her meal and ended up getting sick and feeling like garbage and started having sugar cravings. So it totally derailed her. So obviously that didn't work well for her. So you kind of have to figure out what works best for you. And when I load my carbs right, my HRV score shows it. So I get my HRV the next day. I'm like, whoa, I trained really hard, but my HRV actually stayed the same, went up, or it didn't drop as much as I thought it would. And if I don't load my carbs right, if I choose the wrong carbs, I don't eat enough, or I eat a lot of the wrong things, then boom, it goes down. Or if I have a couple alcoholic beverages, boom, it goes down. So I'm able to track that kind of with my HRV. If you haven't got carb backloading already, you can check out my buddy Eric Banks' site, That Guy Easy. You can sign up for his newsletter there, and Kiefer will give you the first 5 chapters of carb backloading. But if you kind of pester Rob Wolf and Kiefer, if you want the paleo carb backloading laid out in detail, they've kind of talked about maybe doing that project in the future. So I would just pester both of them, just email them every day, like 2, 3 times a day, and keep pestering them until they come out with it. So, but it really is pretty simple. So I hope that answered all your questions. So basically, eat strict paleo and then load your carbs. Pick more paleo-ish, type of carbs: sweet potatoes, yams, squash, gluten-free treats, and I really like dark chocolate covered raisins. Can't say it. They're pretty yummy. So I like those a lot. But thanks a lot for your question. Let me know if you have any more questions about that. And then off YouTube, Chaz Train ALB asked me about meditation. He first asked about what meditation do I use. I use 2 meditations. They're both moron proof because my brain is so scattered. Sitting silently and still is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I use Holosync. Okay, I got that off Mike Mahler's site. You can go over there and check that out, or you can just basically Google Holosync. They have a number of different programs depending on what you're trying to accomplish. I use that usually about an hour a day. And then I use a thing called Brainwave if I'm eating or if I want to concentrate and focus. I put that on. It also helps me get to sleep. So that one's an app on your phone. It's like $2.99, and it works very well. And I found, you asked me about a meditation and HRV. When I first started meditating, my HRV was awful. And I could show you, I could take a picture of where I started meditating, and my HRV just went bam. I mean, it went straight up. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, to steal a term from Paul Chek, working in. And that's one thing I didn't do in the past. I would train really hard, I'd work all day, and I didn't put enough gas back in the tank. And that's what meditation does. It basically recharges the body. It allows you to reset everything and basically recover. And the more if I put effort into meditation, the better my HRV is. If I slack on my meditation, my HRV isn't as good. And so even if I have a hard training session, even if my nutrition isn't as good, I can kind of make up for that with the meditation. And I've found that it really helps me overall. And it's so easy to just sit there and listen to you don't even have to do anything. So it sounds kind of spooky. It sounds kind of weird. It sounds kind of like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. But I mean, it's really, really powerful. Hopefully when we move gym locations, we'll be able to get like a Tai Chi class or something along those lines. And then that's what we found here at the gym is most people just need to slow down some, go for a walk in the park, chill out, to help achieve their goals if they're a strength athlete or if they're just a normal everyday person that wants to look better. Most people are just going like crazy all the time, like phones and kids and jobs and wives and husbands, and they're just going all the time. And then they try and throw exercise on top of that, and it just doesn't work. You basically are driving a broken car and trying to drive it hard. So the more you put effort into working in, the harder you can work out. So you've got to get everything moving and healthy so you can train hard. And that's the biggest mistake I used to make is I used to basically work all day, be exhausted, and then instead of taking time to rest, I'd take energy drink, loud music, ammonia cap, and yeah, I'd hit PRs, but I was constantly digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and then one day you just burn out or you get injured. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks everybody for all the great questions, and I'm going to keep answering your questions via this format because this is so much easier for me than actual typing. So have a good day.